Hey everyone, this is Des from According to Des. Thank you so much for listening today. You are in for a treat and a ton of value because I am interviewing Kristina Campos, founder of the organization The Impactful Parent. Kristina's story is so incredibly inspiring. She went from a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids and was in the educational fields and in love with her husband that she was with for many, many years to being a single mother who owns 2 businesses and works for herself. And she just launched her own podcast. Kristina was so resilient when her husband came to her saying that he wanted a divorce. She went back to school and started her own organization. So incredibly inspiring. I can't wait to hear the details, and I'm sure you will love this episode and find a lot of value in it. Her organization is The Impactful Parent, and she gives tons of free value to parents on advice for how to maintain relationships with your children, how to tackle tough behaviors like anger and anxiety, how to detect and tackle drug use in your children. I mean, endless topics. Let's now talk to Kristina about how she went from a loving wife dedicated to her marriage and children to a single, powerful woman with 2 organizations under her belt and a master's degree. All right, everyone, I'm so excited. I'm here with Kristina Campos, founder of the organization, The Impactful Parent. Kristina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you because you went from a stay-at-home mom in the education field with 4 kids, happy and in love, to a single mother who owns 2 businesses and works for herself, and you just launched your own podcast. So, wow, tell me everything. Start from the beginning.
Oh, it has been quite the journey, and the majority of that just happened like within the last 5 years. So it's like, whoa, it's
Wow.
been a roller coaster. But I guess, I guess my story kind of starts with me crying in my closet.
Oh.
If you're a parent, then you understand this because there's a place in your house where you go to go hide away from your children, whether it's like go talk to your girlfriend on the phone, or for me, whatever, it's the place that I go to show emotion or just go be by myself. And that's kind of where my story starts. Is I was crying in my closet. So rewind to why I was crying in my closet, and it was because my husband had asked me for divorce. I didn't take it lightly. It wasn't something that I wanted, and to be honest, it didn't really come out of nowhere, but at the same time, I was very surprised. I didn't expect it. So I spent several months crying in my closet, as you could imagine. And I had a very book marriage. It was wonderful. I met him when I was young. We had 4 beautiful children. I was supporting him in his businesses and stuff. And things I thought were okay, but sometimes they're not. And this is kind of what I've learned as I started reflecting on things, that I actually had lost myself in parenthood in the last several years of my marriage. It comes a time when you have to pause and stop crying in your closet. Pick yourself up from your bootstraps and decide to move forward. It's a pivot. And that pivot is like really intentional. You have to kind of decide that that's what you're going to do. And I think when you're a parent, that pivot is actually a lot easier because you have these other eyes that are watching you and looking at you for what is going to happen, what are we going to do. And I definitely had 8 eyes, 4 kids looking at me, wondering what's going to happen, what are we going to do now. And I wanted to show them that their mom, although really sad, is going to be okay, and that we're going to be okay, and that I can do this. It's exhausting. It's so hard. It's quenching. I can't explain it unless you've been in that period of your life where you just feel like I need to push the do-over button, like really bad. I got to just push the button. I want to start all over because whatever I was doing, it wasn't working out, right? And
Yeah.
I need to move forward. It was when I decided that pivot to move forward, I sat and looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, I got this. What am I going to do? And then said, whoa, I don't even recognize myself in the mirror anymore. You begin to question everything. You question, did I do I cook that for dinner because I like it or because it's habit? Do I want to watch this TV show at night because I really enjoy it or because it's something that he liked to do? And you do that with everything. And that's when I realized, wait a second, I have been giving myself to everybody else for so long that I don't even know who I am. Then it got even worse. I guess it got more scary, really, because then I felt lost. So not only was I alone, but I was lost.
That is really scary. That's a very scary feeling. And how long were you married?
13 years with him for about 6 years before that. Cause like I met him when I was 18. So we didn't get married until I was like 24.
Wow. I mean, that's your whole life turned upside down. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up together in so many ways, right? I mean,
Mm,
that's when you really mature is in those years. And we grew up together. He's still a part of my life. Obviously, I have 4 kids with him. And that was one of the things I had to decide was, am I going to be mad that he made a different choice other than me? Or am I going to try to take the high road here? Because it's so easy not to, right?
so easy. I can't even understand how, after such a big event like that, how you even decided to be resilient and get out of your closet. I don't know that I could have. That's so traumatic.
Well, and again, it's like those eyes watching you. It's that
Mhm.
it makes it that much easier because you do live not only for yourself when you're a parent. So it kind of forces you to do that if you
Yeah.
choose. I
And
mean,
how old were your children at that time?
oh geez. Well, today they're 8, 10, 16, and 18. And
Wow.
that was about 6, actually about 6 years ago. So maybe even 7 almost now.
Wow. Yes, they were pretty young.
Yeah. But I had emerging teenagers. And what
Mm-hmm.
I noticed at that time was, oh my goodness, my teenagers need me more right now than I think they needed me when they were younger. Not
Oh,
only because we were transitioning into a new lifestyle with a divorce, but also because they were becoming teenagers and teenagers are, it's just hard.
it's a very hard time. I don't have kids, but I work in a middle school and high school, and I worked at a
Yeah.
mental health clinic with kids between 5 and 19. And the teenage years, they're so, so tough.
Yeah. So then I had to make some really tough choices through the rediscovery process of trying to figure out who I am and rebuild myself and go through all of that. I realized that I'm a giver. I'm a giver by nature. I
Mm,
give and I give and I give and I love it. And if I don't give, I don't feel good about myself and I don't feel like I've lived that day. Part of my demise though was not pulling back and giving too much. Honestly, it could have been a contributor to even the loss of my husband because I was giving to my children and I was giving to my community and I was giving to my job and I was a teacher. So that's not a 9 to 5 job. I brought things home with me. I worked endless hours. I was giving to my students.
right.
I didn't have very much left at the end of the day. No wonder, like looking back, having said that, when you find out attributes about who you are, you can't ignore them. And I really, really believe about living your authentic self. So moving forward, I had to figure out how am I going to give, but still have enough at the end of the day for my kids who need me right now more than they've had before in the past. I had to make some tough choices. And if anyone else is in these hard circumstances that are similar, I'm telling you that you will find yourself in really tough choices where again it's like at a crossroads or you feel like your back is up against the wall and you don't know which way is the right choice and you're just hoping that you're going to make it. And for me that was quitting a job that I love, which was teaching, and figuring out how else can I give because obviously it's taking too much out of me.
These are all major self-awarenesses and self-discovery. How did you go about learning yourself?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have actually like 12 steps that I go through that I can give your audience today when they if they'd like to hear all 12. I won't go through 12 today, but let me give you some of the highlights.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
and that PDF is at theimpactfulparent.com/life beyond children. You know, the first thing that I did is you have to start making yourself a priority. And I know that's super scary when I say this out loud to parents and they hear it all of the time. Make yourself a priority. Oh, I get it. I understand. I'm a single mom of 4 kids, and I'm telling you, it's hard to make yourself a priority, but you have to do it. And let's be realistic. You're a parent. Your kids come first. And I think the misconception of when parents hear this, make yourself a priority, they think that it's somebody saying you got to put yourself first before anybody else. And that's a bunch of crap, if you ask me,
Mm,
because you are a parent. It's not all about you anymore. And it's good parenting to put your kids first. But the difference there is you need to put yourself right behind them.
mm-hmm.
So you got to be in the top, for me, top 5, right? Because I got 4 kids. So I'm number 5.
Right.
So you put yourself in the top 5. And it's about making yourself one of your priorities. And one of the things that I had to do to regain who I was is changing some of those mind shifts is really important. So one was, hey, I'm going to make myself a top 5 person in my life.
Mm-hmm.
In my own life, I got to do that. Another thing is it's okay to revolve my schedule around my children because they need me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not okay for me to make my entire life existence all about them.
Right.
I am
Yeah.
so much more than a parent, and you need to remember that person you were before you had kids.
Which
It
that's very hard to do.
it is hard. It is very difficult, but it's so important in that process. It actually makes you a better parent. Your kids want to see different facets of your personality. It makes them realize that there's more out there too to you. It's parents that do too much and put themselves too much into the whole parenthood thing, like I did, that find themselves lost, like I was. Maybe it's you discover it when your teenagers are starting to developmentally appropriately separate from you, which that's what happens. Teenagers are all about finding themselves, figuring out who they are. It's part of who being a teenager is. But so many times parents are like, no.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all gonna have a little bit of that, right? I mean, that's totally normal because you miss that kid that wanted to come to you and give you hugs all the time, and you miss that person, but they're ready to move on and trying to figure out who they are and live independently away from you. And those parents that have just put way too much into the parenting, they hold on too tight and they say, I don't want you to get away from me,
Mm,
because if you do, they may not realize this, but they're losing a little bit of part of themselves
yeah,
because,
that makes a lot of sense.
and that's again not healthy. Or maybe when your child goes off to college and you're an empty nester, and then you look at your spouse or whoever else might be in the house and you think, wow, what now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that's very common.
Oh, especially for stay-at-home parents to lose themselves in parenthood because they don't have the outside workforce to kind of ground them into something different other than their children. So
Mm-hmm.
it's super common to lose yourself in parenthood. Taking baby steps to putting yourself as a priority is so important. And I say baby steps because again, people think, "Ah, I'm gonna do something and they expect results overnight. Like everything else, we want so much of the instant gratification, and it just doesn't work like that at
Oh,
all.
definitely. And what would some of those baby steps include?
So one of the things that I do every day is I wake up in the morning and I find 1 hour that I can dedicate for myself. Just one. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. I don't have much more that I can give more than an hour. But I look for that hour. And sometimes you have to be really creative with that hour. For example, if I need to work out that day because I want to keep my health for me, I want to feel good about me and my own body, but I don't really see an empty hour in my day, I might have to run even though running's not my favorite kind of exercise. I might have to run around, let's say, the soccer field that my children are playing in, or the soccer field that the practice is, where I can still watch the game or be there at the practice. But instead of being on my phone in the car talking to some parents on the sidelines, I'm taking that hour to exercise.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And I suggest creating a goal list that the goals on that list are all about things that you want to accomplish outside of parenthood, whether it's read a book, take a bath, maybe travel, anything that you want to do, play more tennis. Those are all things that were on my list. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I don't even like rated R movies, but I put rated R movies on my list because it makes me feel like an adult. It's not something I can do with my children.
Yeah.
And you make that list and you post it. And when it comes to that hour, you work towards something on the list. Even if it's, I can't travel today for my hour, but I can look at Airbnbs and I can look at amazing places in the world that I want to go to someday that might inspire me. Take that hour and you dedicate it to the list. I think one of the things that I really would love for your audience to understand is the mind shift thing is super important, even when you're making these lists. For example, we put imaginary boundaries on ourselves when we don't even realize it.
That is so true. That's absolutely true.
In the beginning, I used to say to myself, well, I would wake up early before my kids get home or before they wake up. I'd exercise then, but I'm just not a morning person.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
By
yes.
saying that, I'm putting an imaginary boundary on my own capabilities. You absolutely can wake up. Don't tell yourself that you're not a morning person. Instead, talk to yourself like this. You say, I would wake up in the morning and exercise or run before my kids wake up, but I don't want to. I really enjoy that 30 minutes in my bed, just lying there, awake on my phone to wake my body up before I actually get out of bed. Because that is when you're owning what you actually like, you're owning who you are, and you're not giving yourself a boundary, you're making a choice.
Oh, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And that's something that even as me not being a parent, I can use because I always say I'm not a morning person. And I say, I wish I was a morning person, but I do wake up early and sit in my bed. So I really like that. I'm going to try that.
Yeah. And it just makes it so that it's a choice for you. And a choice, now you feel like you have more control of it. And now you know that if you really want it, you can make a different choice. But when you start saying, I'm not this kind of person or I can't, you're just putting those boundaries on what you're capable of. And really, you could do anything that you want. You just have to want it. And so starting to little by little owning your choices. And that's where the self-discovery really comes in too, is you start to own the choices that you're making. And then you realize, wait a second, that's kind of who I am.
Mm-hmm. That's so
Very
true. I
powerful.
like that. That's a great tip.
Very, very powerful things that you could do. I mean, and they're so simple and so easy. Even another little tip would be, I know right now it's quarantine and things like that, and we're all don't want to get out of the house or we can't, and there's not much to do out there. But a lot of moms or parents will wear their yoga pants and their sweats all day long, or we won't even get out of our pajamas.
Oh, yes. That's me too.
Yeah. But let me tell you that if you dress casual and dress, I'm going to say thrumpy, okay? If you dress thrumpy every day, it's no wonder that after a while you will feel thrumpy.
Yes.
It's how you wake up and prepare yourself for the day, including what you wear, can affect your attitude. And I'm not saying go out there and wake up every morning and do your makeup and your hair. No, I mean, there's no way I would do that either, right? No way. But every once in a while, and maybe a goal would be once a week, do wake up, put on the jeans instead of the yoga pants. We always feel like we need an excuse to get ready. We need to be going out so somebody would see us. And I'm telling you, no, you don't. Just wake up and get dressed for you. You don't have to go as far as putting on the makeup and whatever, but get out of the yoga pants, put on the jeans, and see how that makes you feel that day, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
for half of the day. Because it can change your mindset and your productivity on how you feel.
That makes so much sense. I really like that too. And I've actually read that, now more and more people, not just because of COVID, obviously with COVID, but even before that, a lot more people are working from home now. And I read an article that said it's so important to get up every day, shower, get dressed, get ready as if you are going to the office, because it does change your mindset about the whole day rather than just staying
And
in your
remember that
pajamas
for
all
the
day.
kids too,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we wonder why our kids aren't taking online school that seriously. But my first question would be, well, are they doing their online school in their pajamas?
Mm-hmm.
Did they get up and get dressed that day? Because all these little things change that mindset set and just really affect you in ways that you don't realize until you've done it. Oh, I wish again it was so much faster to like make change.
Right.
But it just doesn't happen that way. And I think that's the frustrating part of it. But if you document and you start making these baby steps, I promise over time it'll happen. That's how I did it. I mean, it's just rebuilding little by little by little. I went back to school. I did some
Wow.
self-reflection. I did a lot of journaling. I figured out, okay, I guess I'm going to start my own business because I need to create my own schedule for my kids. I need to be able to shut off the day instead of worry about everybody else's children.
Right. No, absolutely. And how did that start? So your husband comes to you, says that he wants a divorce. You're in your closet crying. You realize you're so lost. You lost yourself in parenthood. What did you say to yourself that something needs to change? And how did you start that change?
It's tiny steps, but it was a lot of fake it till you make it in the beginning. I would say, okay, I know that this is where I want to be. And I didn't know exactly. And I didn't know at that time, okay, I want to start a business. I want to go back to school. I didn't know that. Instead, I wrote things like, my goal is I want to be self-sufficient, independent. I want to feel okay. I want to be able to be there for my kids, like that kind of goal list. Every day I would wake up and again, look at myself in that mirror while I was trying to get ready for my day. And I would say, I can do it. I can do this. And man, do you feel stupid in the beginning? Can I tell you? So freaking stupid. You looking at yourself going, I am completely lying to myself right now. I feel just so dumb. But it's a fake it till you make it. You got to keep telling yourself the person that you want to become. Say, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. Or you can say, I'm going to be that. But I really like just making it in first person and saying, I am that kind of person. I am. I just got to pull it out of me somehow. And you just keep telling yourself it literally every day. But eventually, you realize that you're not lying to yourself anymore. It's starting to become truth. I didn't know I was going to start a business after I went back to school. All I said was, okay, I need to change something in my life. I don't know what it is, but I got to change something. That restart button needs to happen. Yeah, I did choose to go back to school, but I also started with, I need all new friends. And it's easier in a divorce because people kind of feel like they have to choose between you and
uh,
your spouse.
right, right.
And
Did you
I,
find that you lost a lot of friends then?
I just let him have them all.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Because I figured, it's okay. And it's not that I don't talk to those people anymore or that we're not, I guess cordial and friends. It's just that I stopped calling every day and making the tight connections. And instead I said, I'm going to make an effort once a week to meet somebody new and try to make new friends. Oh man, can I tell you, it's so hard to make new friends as an adult. Like
It's
we are
so
so
hard.
out of practice than when
It's
we were
so
kids.
it's so tough. I'm actually on Bumble BFF where I try to meet women in my area and go out on friend dates with them.
I love that. And that's exactly what I suggest for people to do is yes, go on Bumble BFF or I think Tinder has one too. It's BFF. And I went on meetups. I went on meet
Yes.
groups. You start doing things like, okay, I really like playing tennis and I like playing volleyball. So I made it a point to join a volleyball league and to play tennis once a week or whatever it is that I did. And through those activities, you begin to meet people. And it's hard because once you're there, you feel shy and you feel stupid again.
Mhm.
This whole process, you feel so stupid. I can't even tell you. And I'm just want to reiterate that because if you're in that, I want you to know you're not alone. Yes, we get
Oh,
it.
wow.
You feel dumb.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
But, you make the effort to say, hi, how are you? Where are you from? Hey, are you busy after this? Would you like to grab a cup of coffee? Would you like to have dinner? It does kind of seem like you're dating all over again, but that's not what I'm saying. You're doing this with whoever you want to make friends with. Friendships in itself are a slow process, but if you go into these groups, especially like the BFF thing that you were talking about or meetup,
Hmm.
those kind of groups, which are free and public, by the way, if you don't know about them, those kind of groups have people who want to meet other people because that's why they're there too. It makes those conversation starters a little bit easier because you're not playing with somebody who's cold, and already has
Yeah.
their friend group or whatever.
Yeah,
These people
exactly.
are on there too, looking for connections the same way you're looking for connections. I just started making whole new friends.
People don't realize how important friendships are, especially going through a breakup or divorce.
Oh, absolutely. One of the greatest things about that for me was I needed the reset button. So I wanted people to meet me for the new Kristina and not for anybody who knew me how I was. I didn't want anybody who knew me for the wife I used to be, even the teacher or the mom. I wanted somebody who just met me for me, who I wasn't going to take around my kids, just me.
Hmm.
And that in itself also allows you to discover more about yourself because you're not dragging the kids along with you. So
Yeah, that's
it's
so
forcing you to
true.
be your authentic self.
That's so true. That's a really great point. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you have to introduce yourself to somebody and say, this is who I am, and connect on that level. So that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Why do
Yep.
you think it is that so many parents lose themselves and their identity when raising their children?
Honestly, it comes out of love. You want to be there for your kids so much. You want them to have so much that you didn't have. And you just get wrapped up in it. You spend more time catering to them than taking care of that authentic person that you were before. You start to realize that you don't also have the time to do a lot of the things that you used to do, like play the tennis match and go out with friends. So now it becomes a much more intentional thing to go out and leave the children behind. And it also comes expensive sometimes in the beginning when you have to get a babysitter to go and do that. So instead of making those efforts, because it is an effort, it has to be intentional when you're a parent to know that you want to go and play volleyball instead or whatever, then stay home and be with your kids, then it just falls to the side because now it's an effort and I don't know if
Right.
I really want to spend that money and I'm okay the way it is. But over time, you lose those things that you used to do. And I feel like in general, because there's a generalization here, but women do it so much more than men. I see husbands make it a priority to go and work out at the gym or whatever they do. They go out and have that happy hour after work. And the mom who may be staying at home does not make those same efforts to tell her husband, I need to go to my own happy hour with my friends. Because for a man who's going out to work, let's say, it's more seamless. He goes to work. He doesn't ever come back home. He goes from work to maybe the happy hour or the workout facility he maybe goes to, and then he comes home to be family man.
Right.
Where a woman, and then again these are generalizations, but so you can switch these roles around too if you have a different dynamic in your house. But whoever is at the home, they literally have to wait for somebody to come home or get a babysitter
Hmm.
and then leave the children. And again, that's just so much more effort.
It is. It's a lot of effort.
That's kind of where it happens.
People, especially with children, but people also without children, because there's so much effort, and people who are working, there's always those excuses. Well, I'm tired, and when I get out of work, I just want to go home and I'm exhausted from the workday. And it does take a lot of energy to get out of the house, which I feel like it's just easier to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to stay in tonight and just relax. So I think people get caught up in that as well.
Absolutely. You're right.
So, like you said, it's so important to put in that effort and make yourself a priority, because tomorrow never comes. It's always, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll hang out with my friends next week. Oh, I'm busy this week. Let's get together next week. And then then months are passing and it never happens.
And that's all true for so many people, right? Not just for this in general, but for so many things that we want to do. And unless we really are intentional and schedule it in and make the effort, yeah, it's all talk. We tell ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no follow through for some of the things that we really want in our lives.
Yeah, and then just time passes, and time is our most valuable asset. We never get that time back. So it's so important to use it. Like you said, take that hour, make it very intentional, because that time, it's fleeting and we don't get that time back.
Yes, perfectly. Yes.
So you decided to go back to school and then start your own business and found the Impactful Parent. How did that idea come to you? How did you think that you wanted to go back to school?
Well, going back to school was kind of out of the blue. I again, I was just looking for something to shift in my life, some kind of change. I just figured, how else am I going to change if I didn't know what else to do. It was like, well, sure. I guess education could shift me in a different direction. I didn't know what I was going to major in. Let me tell you, I did my whole master's degree online. So I never went in to meet anybody, because here I am as a single mom trying to go back to school. It was the only way I could do it.
Wow.
It truly was to learn something new and not really to meet people. It made it work. It actually became much more of a bonding experience with my kids, because now my kids were actually teenagers. Like, fast forward a couple years there, we would sit at the table and we would all do homework together.
Aw.
And they got to see mom work really hard and put education first and make it a valuable thing in our lives. So they started to study more, and leading by example is so powerful for your children, because you can say things as much as you want to, but until you lead by example, it really doesn't, go home to their brains. So it was really powerful to them, and it became awesome in the end. I changed my major once and ended up getting my degree in organizational leadership.
Oh,
And
okay.
thought, okay, well, I have this degree in organizational leadership. Now what? And again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I also have my other major in that is project management. And I was like, I don't really want to be a project manager. I don't, I learned a lot, but that was not exactly what I want to be. And I had to dig deep and think about that authentic self. And what was missing in my discovery of that was the giving part. I was like, wait a second, that's what's missing. I need to help people. And that's
Wow.
why project management felt yucky. I didn't
Mhm.
feel like I was helping people in that way. I would be working for someone else and helping them grow amazing business, I suppose. And I would be,
Right.
completing a project and then moving on to the next project. But that wasn't appealing to me. I wanted to help. I'm a teacher. That's what we do. We
Mhm.
serve. That's why you become a teacher, because you obviously don't do it for the money.
Right.
Um, and so I had to be really creative. And I thought, what could I do to help people? What do I know a lot about? And I thought, man, you know what? I know a lot about teenagers. I know a lot about kids. And I wonder if my advice would be able to help other people. So I kind of experimented it with a little bit with some of the parents that I knew in my community, and I was like, yeah, I think I can do this. This is what I want to do. I can still help children, but now I can help children through the home, which is much even more impactful. So I'm helping their parents understand their teenagers and helping those families create their bonds again. And that made me feel good. That was sounded like it was going to be very fulfilling to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm loving it. I still have to be really cautious that I don't overwork and I don't
Yes.
overgive. But at least now I know. At least I'm aware. And
Mhm.
I was able to sit down and talk to my children and say, especially now as they're getting older and older, hey, if I'm working too much, you got to just tell me. You need to help me monitor myself.
Mm-hmm.
They actually really like that. When you can involve your kids in helping you and say, look, this is obviously mom's kind of gift and downfall at the same time. So help me create that balance. If I'm not paying attention to you, I need you to throw up the little red flag and tell me to shut my computer off.
Yeah, that's really great. And I know that you had said previous to us talking today that in the midst of all of this, kind of losing yourself and your husband saying he wanted a divorce, your children started acting out. So, how did that look and how did you tackle that?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it happens, right? And it's very common when you're going through divorce or even just kids in general as they're growing
Mm-hmm.
up. We had some anger management issues. We had high anxiety running through our house. It manifests itself a lot of times in one of my children, in anger, especially when there's so many uncertainty and so much lack of control is what I'm going to say. When he feels like he doesn't have enough attention or can't control his situation or can't control his environment, and then things get scary and he doesn't know where things are going, it comes out in anger for him.
Mm.
And it took me a while to figure that out. Through my own experiences of my kids having anger management issues and one having extremely high anxiety, and that's a whole other story and podcast too. And so those are both stories and podcasts all on its own.
Oh, yes.
But through those, I was able to now have the time to really go, what is going on here? I need to figure this out. I talked to psychologists. I took classes specifically in behavior management and anxiety. I went to Children's Hospital and talked to healthcare professionals. I talked to counselors. I just did all the education I possibly could to figure out what's going on, and then came back and tried to implement it with my own children and also in the classroom, because although I wasn't necessarily a full-time teacher anymore, I still substitute teach as much as I possibly can. So
Wow.
I would go in there, and if you're lucky and you're a good substitute teacher, they'll ask you even for weeks at a time to come in if somebody is out for an extended period of time for sickness or whatever. And you can go in there and really meet a kid and try to help them. And that's what I would do, is take all the knowledge that I could and implement it. I even, with everything that I've learned, created online courses to help children with behavior management, to help children with high anxiety, to help parents discover whether or not their kids are on drugs or not. Because these are programs that I thought parents just like me would see value in and need help when you don't know why your kid is acting out and you just want to help them so badly. But all of that is an iceberg effect, is what I call it, because you see one behavior like anger, but really that's all you see is the anger. So you think anger is the problem, and anger is not the problem at all. Like I said,
Right.
underneath the water, it wasn't about anger. It was about him feeling scared and insecure and worried about his life and not feeling like he had any control. That was the issue. And when you can figure out what's underneath the water and really and solve the problems that are underneath the surface, that's when you start seeing change outwardly in the home and at school and stuff. Because you can't just treat surface level. You really have to dig deeper in order to change anything.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is that because, I'm a therapist and I worked at a mental health clinic, and parents would come in and say, there's so much anger and there's lashing out and he's throwing things. And it's not about that anger. It's about what's underneath the anger. What is the fear? What is the feeling? What's the root of the issue?
And once you know that, not only can you apply it to your kids, but apply it to yourself as you're going through these big transitions. Why are you drinking? Why are you drinking wine every day, at night before you go to bed or whatever? I know you
Yeah.
might think it's to decompress, but really, what is it? Is it that you're trying to hide something inside of you? Are you sad? Are you trying to hide sadness? Why are you sad? You can use the same kind of principles with your own behaviors on, why am I eating constantly throughout the day when I'm not hungry? What are you trying to fulfill? What need are you trying to cover up or fill up? Or
Mm-hmm.
how are you feeling empty as you're trying to fill it with food? There's so many things like that that you can start even self-reflecting in your own life to help you, make better choices. And it's hard. Oh my God, it's so hard.
So hard. So hard. So it is easier for people to just keep up with those habits. It's hard to decide, I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to really look at myself. But it's so important to do, and it really can change your life.
It can. But that self-reflection, if you're not willing to be honest with yourself, then it's never going to work. So you have to be in a mindset of, I'm really going to be honest with myself. You don't have to say it out loud to the world, but you have to be honest with yourself and be ready to hear those hard answers in your brain. Otherwise, it's never going to work. But that's kind of where the mental health care professional is really an asset. It's coaches are also really an asset, because sometimes it just takes that outside person to kind of give you the nudge and say, really? Is that really why you're doing that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so true. So true. It definitely helps. Even some people, if they're not ready to go to a mental health professional, even talking to like a trusted friend or family member saying, I'm having a hard time with this, or I don't know what's going on. Because sometimes it's hard for us to look at ourselves, and a friend or somebody who cares about you can say, I noticed this is going on and this is what I think is going on. Sometimes it's easier for somebody from the outside to see what's going on rather than ourselves because we're so in it.
Yes, absolutely. You're right.
So one thing that I'm so impressed with, so obviously, you're so impressive already starting your own organization and going back to school, but your website, you have so much content. I mean, you have all these classes and webinars and worksheets. You have endless information. How do you come up with all of this information and put it out into the world? I mean, you have endless valuable resources. It's really incredible.
I appreciate you noticed. And if you go and look, it's like 90% of it is all free.
Yes, so many free resources. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, that's me being a giver again, and me saying parenthood and getting advice and helping your kid shouldn't cost you $1 million.
Right.
I want to be able to help families. I want to be able to help parents in any way that I can. And so I think about the things that I'm going through. I mean, again, I have an 8 to an 18-year-old. I have several different
Hmm.
like stages of development happening in my own home. And whatever might be coming up, I think I can't be the only one. Once I solve that problem in my own household, I think, how did I do it? And how can I pass my knowledge on? And how can I move, pay it forward so that somebody else doesn't have to go through what I went through, or at least make their journey a little bit easier. And I'm hoping that over time people will take advantage of a lot of those resources. And then when they really need something a lot more engaging, something that needs to be more personal to them, that they would call on me for help, whether it's a small group or one-on-one or taking one of those behavior management classes that I offer. Because the reason why they're paid is not because I don't want to give them for free. It's really because they take so much of my time. Those are those programs that I want to be there with you, and I want to help you through it, because it's harder to do on your own. So I want to be there to be your support system. And of course, there's always, you got to have some way to make a living. The things that have the greatest value, that take my time, that I want to be there for
Hmm.
you, for other people. I'd love to do everything else for free, because yeah, that's what it's all about.
I mean, it's amazing. You have content on every aspect of parenthood. It's really amazing. Very, very valuable for people for sure. In the future, do you have plans to grow your organization, or any shifts in the future you're planning on?
Well, we just started a podcast, which I'm really excited about, because I'm hoping that maybe I can reach a whole new set of parents that like to listen to the content. Because right now everything's on YouTube and videos, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. But I'm hoping the podcast will be another way to reach people. And then I will continue to put out more and more stuff that parents can use to help with their children. Oh, I'm also working on maybe translating the Impactful Parent into Spanish to
Oh, that's
the Spanish-speaking
amazing.
community.
Yes, that's fantastic because at the school I work at, the middle school and high school, a majority of the parents speak Spanish.
Yep, that's the next goal too. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
really
great.
excited about the growth that I hope to have. And when I mean growth, it's not, I mean like the spread of the word. I just want to help people.
Oh, absolutely. I hope you grow so much because your content is so valuable. Your information is so valuable. You have great advice for parents and really digestible information. It's not these big, giant leaps that people have to take. It really is a lot of, I was reading through your PDFs and everything, and it's like little habits people can build in, things to pay attention to. It's very doable for people.
I hope so. That is my goal because I'm all about the baby steps.
Definitely. Well, Kristina, this was amazing. And I know you gave me a freebie for my audience. Thank you so much. I'm going to link that in the show notes. I'm going to link your website and all of your links in the show notes. Everybody needs to go check out Kristina at The Impactful Parent. Do you have any other parting words you would like to give anybody, or any advice or anything we didn't cover?
I just want to tell your audience that you are an impactful parent. I'm just here to help, and I hope that you come and find me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kristina. This was so great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristina, for joining me today. That was an incredible interview. I can't believe how resilient Kristina was when her husband came to her saying that he wanted a divorce. And, obviously she said that she spent a lot of time in her closet crying and just lost, saying, what do I do with my life now? That's completely normal after your life is turned upside down like hers was. But she really decided, she was resilient. She decided to lift herself up and, like she said, press the restart button and start a whole new life. That is so incredibly hard, but Kristina is just like me and you. If she is able to do it, you can do it. If you are going through a tough time like that, you can decide to restart your life and make it what you want. It takes a lot of time, like she said. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of effort, and it is hard. It is very hard work. I can't even imagine. But Kristina was able to do it, and I know that you can do that too. Kristina, I'm so impressed with you. What a powerful, amazing woman you are. And I just love how much you love to give to other people, and that that's your life's purpose. Please go check out Kristina at The Impactful Parent. I'm going to link everything in the show notes, all the places to find her website, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything. And she has a freebie for my audience. Thank you so much, Kristina. I'm going to link that freebie in the show notes. It's How to Be an Impactful Parent. This PDF is going to give you 12 steps and 20 questions for putting yourself first without sacrificing your parenting greatness. Download this PDF for all the tips on how to not lose yourself in parenthood. And that is so, so important. Thank you for talking to me about that today, Kristina, because maintaining your authentic self and balancing that with parenthood is so, so important. Try not to lose yourself, though it is very hard when you have children. And again, I don't have children, so I can't understand that as much, but I do understand that it's important to keep your authentic self and to give to your children. They're the most important things in your life. I understand that, but you are very important too, and never forget that. I hope you found this episode to be not only very valuable with all of the advice Kristina gave, but also inspiring for you to create the life that you want. Please join my Facebook group and let me know what you thought of the episode. It's facebook.com/groups/according to Des, and that link will be in the show notes as well. Let me know what you thought of the episode in there, or send me an email at accordingtodes@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and share this episode, and I will see you next week.